All right, it's time to cut this hay. Let's get to it. So one of the reasons that we bought this house was the hay fields. We wanted to have livestock and animals and goats and pasture pigs and maybe sheep and stuff like that down the road, and so we wanted to have our own supply of hay, which worked out really well actually, because this is an awesome planted hay field and that they had been harvesting hay off of for a couple years since planting, so it still has a few years in it before it needs to be replanted. So I got some hay equipment, and you guys were along for most of those for that video of me picking up all my used old hay equipment. And I have not tested anything yet. I have not tried anything yet. I have been extremely busy. God willing, I'll be able to get this done without any huge catastrophes, but we're going to take it step by step. So today we're cutting the hay with a Massey Ferguson sickle bar, and I'm just going to kind of walk the field here. I want to check out, make sure there's nothing in my way, any branches down, anything I'm going to hit. Check out the quality of the grasses and stuff in here. There's 9 acres of pasture out here, and there's a really neat tool that I'll link in the description that if you can go on Google Maps and get an overview of your property, and then you just take this little tool and you draw a line around any part of your property or your whole property, and it'll tell you exactly how many acres it is. So we have 9 acres of field here that is planted with hay, about 9¼ acres. So that's what I'm looking at. I don't know how much hay I'm going to get out of it, but we'll find out in the end here. All right, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. There's a stump out here, just buried out here in this grass. We'll remember to kind of skip this darker green patch here in the middle of the field. All right, looks like there's some clover out here too. I don't know when this thing fell. Really should get in here and cut this up for wood, but I don't really have time to do that today, so we'll have to skip over this little section here. So yeah, it looks like 2 different types of, I don't know if these are considered an oat. I have to look this up. So we got this, and then we've got these. I don't claim to be an expert at harvesting hay. This is my first time doing it, from start to finish. I worked on farms as a kid, but I was mainly the labor, the guy that stacked all the hay after it was already cut and baled. So I didn't operate a lot of the equipment. Was around it, saw it, but never had to do it. So this should be interesting. I've got a lot of old equipment, 1969 Ford 4000, and I don't know what that Massey Ferguson is. The sickle bar is old too. I don't know what year it is, 70s I think. So we'll get it all out here and see what we got. Okay, here it is, right where I put it when I got it. Hasn't been hooked up yet, hasn't been tested. I'm gonna get the tractor all ready, oil change, check all the fluids, make sure we're ready to go on that, get it fueled up, and we'll get out here and get this thing cut. All right, well, first thing I need to do is get this thing cleaned up. There's a lot of grease in here, which attracts a lot of dirt and dust, and I know he said I gotta tighten the belts up. There's a belt right here, and then there's a tensioner on the back side of it. I gotta make sure my PTO shaft's gonna fit and reach and everything. I don't need any extensions or anything crazy like that. But what I need to do is find all the grease fittings, the zerts, to make sure I get all the grease on everything I possibly can on this thing. Everybody I've talked to, there's one resounding theme with any farmer, and they make sure you grease it up, make sure you grease it up. So I know that's how stuff wears out, is when you don't grease it up, and then you end up with broken bearings and parts and stuff out in the field, and then you can't cut your hay. The thing with cutting hay is the timing, so I've got to figure out, you know, I need to have a good 5 days of no rain. I'm looking at the weather this week, and there's a 40% chance on Friday of a thunderstorm, so I'm hoping it doesn't. It's Tuesday today, so if I cut today, rake maybe once or twice throughout the week, and I figured Sunday, if everything looks good, I'm gonna bail. It gives me time to get stuff ready and get the baler out and test it all out, make sure it's all working. When you're looking for grease fittings, I mean, I do have the manual for this too, so I can always verify. But I mean, basically, you're just looking for any moving part, any bearing, anything that spins. It's gonna have a fitting on it somewhere. Pack it full till you can see grease squirting out. Usually, that one's good. It's a new grease gun. Not quite adjusted here, it's pretty tight. One here. So why did I get this instead of a regular hay bine? Well, one reason: money. This is way cheaper than anything else you can get. What are the disadvantages? Well, anything that's cheaper always has a disadvantage, right? It doesn't crimp the hay. And basically what that means is a hay bine cuts the hay, collects it into a kind of a windrow, and it crimps the grasses, the stems. And that helps it to dry out quicker, squeezes the moisture out. This does not do that. Now there is a conditioner that you can get for it, and it hooks to the back here, and you pull behind it and it crimps the hay and puts it in a row. I don't have that. Don't plan to get it. I heard the guy say that I bought this from, he liked the non-crimped hay better because it actually, you know, it's supposed to keep a little more of the nutrients in the actual hay, which, yeah, I think there's probably some truth to that. I mean, smash all the grasses up and then suck all the water out of them, you're probably squeezing out some of the nutrients too. But certainly dries a lot quicker if you have a proper hay bine. So okay, let's see if we can get our PTO greased up here. I think that's it. I think that's all of them. All right, so one of the things he told me when I got this was that he had loosened this belt, and that you should loosen the belt, you know, when it's stored, just so it's not have a lot of tension on it, so it's not stretching. So there's this little double bolt, double nut type tensioner here. So I'm going to tighten this up. It's just two nuts that when you tighten them against each other, it holds it in place. So once I get this tightened to where I want it, I will tighten that top nut down to the bottom one, and it'll lock those in position. This is where I'll need to start getting extra wrenches at garage sales and stuff to keep in the toolbox for the tractor, so that I know I have, like, this is 11/16, so if I need 11/16, I'll come out and I'll have it right in my toolbox out here already. All right, next I want to make sure this tractor's ready to go here. I'm going to change oil, filters, and check coolants and all that good stuff. This is the first time I've changed oil since I got it. I bought it last fall. I barely used it. I used to plow the driveway once and do some grading and, you know, a few buckets of compost and stuff like that here and there, but gosh, probably less than 10 hours of use. So, but I don't know when he changed it before this, so before I get out and run it for 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours, I don't know how long it's gonna take to cut this field, but might as well get it. But just like old engines, this tractor, you're supposed to change the oil before winter and before summer because it takes a different oil. So we're using a 20 weight oil here in the summertime, which is a recommended factory oil for this, SAE 20, and then which is a little thicker. Obviously, when it's hotter out in the summer, the oil is going to be thinner. So in order to maintain viscosity, you use a little heavier oil. And then in the winter time, use a little thinner oil, so maybe a 10 weight or something like that, or you know, a 5W20 or something. So all right, here's the moment of truth. See if it works. Pretty good. Like a big pair of hair trimmers.